6:34 on Radio 1190 KVCU Boulder. You're tuned into News Underground. Joe Perris, Parker Davis, Jared Roush here with you. Now joined by Angela Naeth. Angela, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. It's awesome to be here.
I was reading on your website today. You said that aside from home, where's home, by the way?
Home is in Vegas right now.
Oh, wow.
Vegas. Yeah.
Is that a tough place to be a triathlete?
It is in the summer. It gets over 112 degrees sometimes, so it's not too fun.
You're just running up and down the strip.
Yeah,
that's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Keeps it interesting, right?
It does. You get to people watch and see a lot of variety of different things.
You also said, though, Boulder, Colorado, one of your favorite places.
Yes, it is awesome here. I come here almost every summer and spend about 3 or 4 months here. So,
is it the beauty or the altitude?
It's a bit of both, actually. You know, I'm from the mountains, so I feel like I'm at home here. So I come here, and then the altitude's awesome for training, especially if the races are after I head out.
Awesome. Well, we didn't really introduce you very well. You're a 10-time 70.3 Ironman champion, 20-time 70.3 podium finisher, and you're the 2014 Chattanooga Ironman champion. So you've won a few things. You got this Ironman thing figured out. We were talking on Monday's show when we were saying we were going to have you on Wednesday. We had a fireman in here who tried to run the entire Boulder Ironman in gear.
Oh,
My first question. Could you do that?
I could not do that. That's impressive. Very impressive.
How did you get into Ironman running? Because I know I have a few friends that are triathletes, and they kind of just fell into it. It didn't ever seem like it was planned for them. Was this something you'd wanted to do since you were little?
No, actually. Well, I saw my first triathlon when I was 10 years old on TV, and I thought it was just a cool event. I was a track and field athlete in school, and did 5 years of that, and just started riding my bike back and forth to class and stuff. And once I finished college, I decided I wanted to jump into something to be athletic and be healthy, and so that's when I thought about triathlon, and it just kind of progressed from there.
That's pretty exciting to do it and then win all these races. Because for me, I would train for one and I'd finish one and that'd be it for my life. But you
get pretty hooked. You get pretty hooked once you do one.
Oh gosh, I can barely walk down the street without my knee hurting. Is that something you battle? Is injuries a pretty big battle?
Yeah, it is. You really have to balance all the stresses that you put into your life. So I've had a number of injuries throughout my career, and it's kind of part of the game as well. You kind of have to look at that, and you learn each year what you can handle and what you can't. So it's definitely a process. When
you prepare for a triathlon, is it the mindset of here's another one, or is it the mindset of a hockey team where it's all right, this is game day today, we have one game, and then we'll worry about the next game after this one's over?
Yeah, I think almost every sport you have to be in the moment, and that's why I love triathlon, is because if you find yourself going to the next step, or you're swimming and you're thinking about the bike, you're not going to perform well at that aspect. So I really just try to focus on the moment, each and every step from there. If I can break down the race into smaller pieces, it's a lot easier mentally to get through the race. So.
And you've had some really impressive finishing times, obviously, with your wins, under 9 hours.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with triathlons, under 9 hours is incredible. Question: What do you think about for 9 hours, or do you think about anything?
I think about everything and anything, and then also just nothing. So, the best times where I find that I'm performing really, really well is when I have a quiet mind. So I really try to focus in on just absolutely nothing. There could be chaos going on. There could be crowds. There could be, the winds on the bike and all this stuff. There's really a lot going on, but you have to be able to find that kind of zen mind, you could call it, where you're really looking at your power, your heart rate, you're seeing how much water and intake you need. There's all this stuff you need to focus on, but then you don't want to focus on anything at the same time. So it really takes practice over time. Every day when I'm training, I try to get into that moment and that space, and just really try to be able to say, flip a switch and I can get into it.
What's the calculation while you're running, trying to figure out, all right, I'm thirsty, but I don't want to drink too much water. Some runners don't eat at all while they're running. Some will snack along the way. What do you do?
Well, for an Ironman, it's really important to focus on your nutrition. So I really backlog on the bike. So I take in a lot on the bike. So I really I try to drink a bottle an hour, so I kind of have these parameters. Every hour I have a certain amount of nutrition each time. And then on the run, it's just really, we have an aid station every mile, so I just really focus on trying to grabbing something every mile and not really have to think about it after that. But
And you mentioned the bike. Is that your favorite part of the...
It is my favorite part, yeah, definitely.
It's also the longest, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then It's a different. Is it the same order every time where it's swim, run, bike?
No, swim, bike, run.
Swim, bike, run.
Yeah. I think if it was run, bike, swim, we would have a lot of issues in that.
You have a lot of drowning.
Yeah.
But, every year at the Boulder, we have the Ironman in Boulder, and every year they have lots of lifeguards out in the water because they have amateur athletes. It's like, oh, I can do this, and they get like a little bit into the swim, and they're like, no, like get me out of here. I can't do this. The transition is always really interesting to me where you go, water to land. And is there like some kind of a science to like, switching, outfits, so to speak, or is that something that just comes with time?
You definitely have to practice the transition. So in Ironman, it's not so important for the time frame because you put everything in a bag and you run through the transitions, you grab your bag and switch things over. But in the shorter distances, it's an art almost. You have to have your shoes ready, you have to have your helmet ready, and you see a lot of kids now when they're starting this sport when they're 12 and 13, and they're so fast at it. They just grab everything and go. And so you just kind of have to practice those small little steps, and you become faster.
You see a lot on team sports that, as you mentioned, younger and younger kids are getting very good, and parents are like making their children like at 8, 9 years old, elite athletes. Are you seeing that on the, the triathlon scene as well?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. There's lots of kids triathlons now, and there's kids groups. I've been to a few of them, and they can swim faster than me. They can jump on their bikes faster than me. It's just they're so fluid at it. So it's going to be interesting in the next 10 years where the sport goes.
You ever think back to your first triathlon? I was like, how did we get here?
Yeah, actually, my mom took me to it. It was a small little town one, and it was an indoor pool, and I made almost all the mistakes possible. I ran with my helmet for at least 300 yards because I forgot to take it off. I switched my outfits, but it was definitely an adventure.
And it's like this point where you can like really think back to like distinct Ironman races, or are they kind of all like just jump into one?
Yeah, I've only done 4 Ironmans, 4.5, because I wasn't able to finish one. But so those are still really, really new to me. And the halves, I've done so many in the last 6 years that I don't really remember too many of them. But like I said before, I just focus on the race itself each moment, and so every race is a new race, a new experience.
And we had Terry Adams in here last semester, and he was with the Red Bull team, and you're also with the Red Bull team. And we've talked on the show that Red Bull does a really good job of picking out athletes of sports that don't really get the exposure. Paul Rabel from Pro Lacrosse, a friend of the show. How did you get approached by Red Bull to be a Red Bull athlete? Because that's a really big sign, because they pick the best.
Yeah, it's been awesome to be a Red Bull athlete, actually. So I just kind of, a friend of a friend connected with my athlete manager, and I was able to connect with them. But I had my first Red Bull actually here in Boulder when I was training here. It was my first year as a pro, and I was doing the Boulder Peak Triathlon. It was an Olympic event, and the race was delayed, and they had Red Bull on the side, so I had one, and I ended up winning that event. So I was kind of hooked ever since, because who wouldn't be? And so when my athlete manager kind of got wind of that, and we were able to connect the dots, it was a process of going through that. So.
Well, that's exciting. I know Vinny McComb, who's in here with us, he dropped off a case of Red Bull as a thank you, and it was gone within 2 or 3 days, but everyone got a lot of work done that week.
Yeah.
The whole radio station got a lot of stuff done in the last, that week. So
yeah, every time I bring my bike to my mechanic, I always bring him a few Red Bulls, and I tend to get that bike a little quicker.
Yeah. Oh, it's great stuff. I mean, you got to be careful. Disclaimer, but
it's solid. Yeah.
It's really good stuff.
You've been talking some about your experience as a triathlete, and this week you've been working with some of the student athletes up here, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that experience and what that's been like?
Yeah, this morning we went to the performance lab here, the sport performance lab. There's a swim lab you guys have here, and I've actually never been to one before, but we got a few of the top CU triathlon members there, and we looked at their stroke, their mechanics, and we were able to kind of give them some fine cues to change over. And then tomorrow I'm heading to a practice swim, and we were going to do a bike today, but unfortunately the winds here kind of crossed that off the list.
Yeah, it's brutal sometimes.
Yeah, it's been fun. So I'm hoping tomorrow we can do a lot of Q&A with the students as well.
You didn't cross paths with Lance Armstrong, did you? Because he was on campus too.
Yeah. Oh, here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I saw his tweet, but. No, I have not crossed paths.
I thought about that. I was like, maybe she knows Lance by chance. Nobody knew he was going to be on campus.
a few triathlons when he was in triathlon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Well, he's got his whole posse. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was fun, though. It definitely changed the dynamic of the race. We had a lot more people at the race, and it was awesome.
Are there similar issues with like triathlon that there was in pro cycling with doping and?
Yeah, we have a really good process of being tested out of competition and in competition. Obviously we want it more and more, but I was just tested last week when I was in Florida, which was awesome. So just seeing the progress that's been made in triathlon has been great.
And you're talking a little about working with kids and reading your profile. One of the things that interests me is the fact that you have a master's in physical therapy. How has that informed or kind of maybe given you an edge in terms of your training, in terms of being in competitions, and also as you work with kids in these situations, how does it kind of give you a little bit of an advantage in terms of understanding how the body works and how to better position yourself and others in terms of competition?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think the biggest thing I've had is, I worked with kids in a physical therapy setting a lot, so I've been able to adapt a lot of my education on how to teach kids a lot. Obviously, that's been helpful. And then in terms of my own racing and stuff, obviously understanding my body is huge. And so really the coaches that I've worked with, I can really talk one-on-one with them about any type of mechanics, physiology, and I understand it and he understands it. So we can really get to the next step that way. Whereas he's with a lot of other athletes, it's very basic, and so we can really go in depth. And I feel like I'm in tune with my body a little bit more, and I just have an overall understanding of how everything works, which is very, very helpful.
You do have a master's in physical therapy.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that helps a little bit.
Yeah, I would hope. Yeah, no, it definitely helps. And actually, before triathlon, I worked in an outpatient orthopedic place where there was a lot of athletes that came in. I worked with pediatrics and kids, and so just having that experience and that background really helped shape who I am today. A lot of triathletes come. Like now, some of them aren't even going into college right away, and then some are already doing triathlon while they're in college, and I didn't do any of that, so I came late. So I think with having that experience and stuff really helped me understand things a bit more as I go through the process of learning how to be a professional athlete.
And for you, this is full time for you, right? This
is
your life.
Yeah. It's really exciting because when I was in university, it was my dream, that this is what I wanted to do. And so I kind of fell into physical therapy because it was that same type of understanding, the background, the sports and all that. And I was a track athlete in Missouri. And so I just kind of really fell into physical therapy. And so to have the opportunity to now do this as a profession full time, it's just a dream come true, definitely.
What do you do for fun? I'm assuming you go for runs.
It's funny because we live in Vegas. So my husband is also a triathlete as well. He's a coach too, and he loves food, and so he's really shown me a lot of restaurants. Obviously, in Vegas is huge. We go to a few shows. That's what's great about living there is because it's the totally opposite of the triathlete lifestyle, and with the races that I go to, I get to travel a lot. So that's one of my passions, and right, I still haven't been to every continent that I've wanted to. I've only been to a few, and there's so many countries I want to see, and so I just kind of take that as kind of things that I want to do and be excited about. So
if Ironman came to you and they said, all right, Angela, you get to pick the location for our next Ironman World Championship, where would you have it?
That's a tough one because it's been very iconic in Kona, and Kona's awesome. I love Kona. But I'm a very hot and humid person. I love the heat and humidity. So it would just have to be some type of Caribbean island or something like that again. So, but it just if there's mountains too, I love climbing. So some with everything in the mix.
Is it easier to run when it's warmer or colder? I'm assuming a little bit colder?
Probably easier to run when it's colder, definitely. For me though, I just love the heat. So I go where the heat is.
That's probably good though, because I'm sure you're burning up when you're running around.
Yeah.
I'm burning up just walking upstairs. So what's next for you? I mean, you've got a lot on your plate heading into the future. Obviously, you're going to work with University of Colorado kids this week, and then what's next?
Next, I just came back from a training camp in Florida, and so I came here. This is kind of like a easy week for me, so I'm able to do some stuff with Red Bull, and then I head back to Vegas, do a big training block, and the season will start up for me at the end of April, May.
Oh, wow. So what's the season like? There is an off season to...
There is an off season. So our World Championships is in October, and you can kind of race throughout the year depending. So for our championships, you have to gain points. So you have to race a certain amount of races, and the top 35 women get to go on the start line for this race. And so you really kind of follow where the points are. And there's some big races. There's one in Texas, in North America. There's one in Brazil, and so. I take a few months off right after October and then kind of gear up for the races from there.
Well, good luck. I mean, that's
Thanks.
so exciting.
Yeah.
I've always wanted. I mean, I've gone and watched in Boulder, and it's just exhausting to watch.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and there's lots of events you can start out with. You can start out with a sprint, which takes less than an hour and a half for most people, and so that's the way to start into triathlon, and then from there you'll get hooked. So definitely,
everyone that comes in here that says that, they're like, you just got to do it.
I was gonna say, Joe, we know what we're doing next weekend now, bud.
Well, it's always the last. I guess we didn't do it last year, but like 2 years we ran the Boulder for a charity thing as a radio station. And, like, I would train, and then you do it, and then you're like, I'm never walking again. Like, that was it. Like, I cannot move ever again. We partnered, you might have heard of them. There's this group called Miles to Give, and they just continually run around the country.
Oh, wow. No,
they
I've
live out
never
of an
heard of
RV.
them, but that's awesome.
Yeah, they're intense. They're very special people. They're living on the road forever. Like, that's it.
That's impressive.
They all sold their homes. They all live in an RV together. So, all right. Well, Angela, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries.
Make sure to find Angela on Twitter at Angela Naeth, and that's just your name, Angela Naeth on Twitter. You could follow her in her quest to be an Ironman champion. I know, Jared. You had one question.
Oh yeah, the fact that it's called Ironman. That any discussion, especially among the women.
I guess there's a thing called people want to be called Iron Woman, but really it's just a standalone Ironman. We're pretty good with it.
Okay. I was curious because sometimes like that gets brought up, with like servicemen and women. And it's like sometimes it's really contentious. But I don't know. I don't have my ear to the ground on the tri community. I don't know what the gossip is that we're not going to plug in. But all right, Angela, thank you very much for joining us, and good luck in your next season.
Thanks so much.
We're going to step aside, but you're tuned into Radio 1190 KVC Boulder. We'll be right back after this.